At UNIDO's Circular Economy and Green Industry Division, and it is my pleasure to take you through the next hour of hopefully very interesting and fruitful discussion today. This session is convened in collaboration with three key institutions that are driving circularity in Latin America and beyond, namely the Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, ECLAC, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, the OECD, and the International Chamber of Commerce, ICC. Across Latin America and the Caribbean, there is a growing momentum for circular approaches reflected in pioneering government initiatives, innovative business models, as well as stronger regional collaboration. The recent OECD report on circular water economy in the LAC underscores this shift, identifying the need for more streamlined regulation, innovative business models, and financing, as well as stronger stakeholder engagement to enable circularity to scale, not just in water, but across multiple sectors. In today's session, we will be exploring what actually works on the ground. What lessons can we draw from the pioneering programs in the region, and how can international partnerships help unlock the full potential of circularity? Before we dive in, I would like to hear more from you. And if you wish to now open your WCF app and look at the poll questions, there will be a question waiting for you there. And please take a moment to respond to our opening poll question on the app. I hope you're all finding it easy to use our QR code and the app. Waiting for answers to trickle in. Let me see across the room if I see colleagues I've given you a homework, I'm sorry, right after lunch. But it's going to be, yes, we already have some answers. And what I see is that most of you think that access to finance is one of the key barriers, followed by lack of incentives for private sector, lack of consumer awareness. Indeed, these issues are at the core of some of the discussions we will have today, and I would like to suggest that you keep reflecting on some of them. Now, what I want to also say before I invite our first speaker is that you might notice that the question tab, also in the World Circular Economy Forum app, is currently live. So both for the in-room and the online audience, we would welcome any questions and comments from you. And there will be a time at the end of the session for our panel members to answer your questions. In order to facilitate this, the timing, I would kindly ask you to indicate which speaker you're directing the question to, and if possible, please pose your question in English. Unfortunately, because of time constraints, it's going to be difficult for us to gather all the questions otherwise. Therefore, now I think it's time that I invite our first speaker to come on stage and join me, and to set the stage for our topic, I'm pleased to invite Luis Krieger from ECLAC Sustainable Development and Human Settlements Division, to share his opening remarks on the challenges and opportunities for accelerating circularity. Thank you, Luis.
Thank you. Thank you, Mush, for this introduction. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, members of the panel. I will present some introductory notes to this panel. My presentation is centered around what we have been doing at ECLAC, the Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean. We are based in Santiago, Chile, working for the Division of Sustainable Development, and how we see the priorities for accelerating the circularity in our region. First of all, we have to recognize that the linear economy is thriving, not only here, but all over the world. And this fact has consequences: desertification, biodiversity loss, water scarcity, climate change, and a wide range of social impacts. So our mission, the mission of circular economy, is to promote a decoupling of the economic development, economic growth, from the use of natural resources. This is the main idea, to promote this decoupling. But of course, this idea of decoupling is a challenge our notion of prosperity. We should develop a broader comprehension of what human needs are, and the prosperity cannot be only a material prosperity. Recently, we gathered some organizations under the flag of the Regional Coalition of Circular Economy for Latin America and the Caribbean, and we produced this circularity gap report for our region. The idea was to generate a baseline of circular economy in our region, and we found this figure, this metric, meaning that our circularity metric is less than 1%. We are not talking about recycling rate. We are talking about the circularity of material circularity, the whole economy. We have less than 1%. It's quite low. One possible explanation is that we have in our region very weak databases. And with weak databases, we have this weak figure. This is one possible explanation, and that's true. But it's also true, we have to recognize that we have a low level of circularity. The good news is that we could improve this figure, as, for instance, the potential for ecological cycling, for instance, is more than 40%. It's the double of the global average. So here we have possibilities to increase this figure. That would mean that we have a better management of biomass. If we think about kind of regenerative agriculture, regenerative cattle ranching, for instance, we could raise this figure and have a better level of circularity in our region. At the same time, we used some econometric models to analyze which kind of consequences we would have if we imagine that we should promote a bigger increase in the flow of investments into this transition for circular economy. And we found that, for instance, the job creation potential in Latin America and the Caribbean region is quite high. Considering the agro-food system, we could generate more than 4 million jobs. If you are talking about manufacturing and waste management, we could have almost more 2 million jobs. So this is a very interesting perspective. And at the same time, if we analyze the food system, for instance, we could reduce the material footprint and the carbon footprint in a very consistent way, considering the circular food production and reducing loss and waste and promoting a balanced diet. So if we are talking about generating jobs and reducing our material and carbon footprint, we are talking about decoupling. So these potentials are quite good news for us. At the same time, we also using econometric models, we also try to understand which macroeconomic consequence would have if we reduce the use and increase the level of circularity of 4 raw materials: fossil fuels, plastics, metallic materials, and construction materials in 4 countries: Chile, Colombia, Mexico, and Peru. And we found, in this case, using these econometric tools, we found that we could have grow in the GDP, we could generate a lot of jobs, and we would reduce the emissions. So this is a very interesting scenario, and this is the ultimate goal of our desires and our efforts. So this is what the future generations need. And of course, we have some barriers to reach that potential. We have been analyzing the kind of barriers that we have, and we have trying to organize initiatives and actions to overcome these barriers. And the barriers are more like traditional barriers that we have in trying to strengthen the transition towards circularity. One of the main barriers is the lack of legal and public policy frameworks, meaning that we need national strategies for circular economy. And the role of governments in this case are absolutely important, are key in promoting these enabling conditions for the transition to the circular economy. And not only the national strategies or roadmaps, but its components like regulatory instruments, financial instruments, good metrics, good indicators, and a good governance. Governance is also key in this sense. So we have been working hard in trying to implement these enabling conditions in our region, and we do believe if we materialize these enabling conditions in several countries that we have been working all over the region, if we materialize these possibilities, these enabling conditions, we will boost the transition towards circularity at the production chains level. So that's our intention. That's our mission. The humanity needs that. The humanity needs our efforts in building these enabling conditions for a better, sustainable, and circular future. So have a good panel. Thank you much.
Thank you very much, Luis, for the opening remarks and especially grounding our discussion in the regional context. Now it's my pleasure to turn to our panel of distinguished guests, and I would kindly invite my colleagues, Ms. Veronica Alegre, the co-founder of Mygotex, Mr. Ambroise Fayol from the Vice President of European Investment Bank, who can join us on the stage, and Mr. Lucas Maciel. You're welcome. As you can see, we have a panel that brings together quite diverse perspectives, both from government, industry, and international finance. So I would like to start by asking each of our speakers to share insights from their own work and to kick us off in this discussion. And I would like to first turn to Veronica. Veronica, you're the founder of Mygotex, a young, innovative company from Paraguay, creating sustainable fashion items from vegan leather from different natural fibers. What were some of the barriers you faced when producing and bringing to the market your product, and how did you tackle them? Veronica.
Hi, at Mygotex, we set up the challenge two pressing issues all at once: urban food waste and the environmental footprint of the fashion industry. We work with mango waste collected from cities in Paraguay to develop a vegan leather alternative, locally sourced, biodegradable, and socially inclusive. We recognize early on that the fashion industry needs systemic, adaptable solutions rather than isolated ones. That's why, after more than 1,000 formulation tests, we developed a flexible biomaterial capable of adapting not only to mango, but to a wide range of other organic waste streams. This adaptability is central to our mission of enabling scalable, regenerative materials tailored to diverse local realities. In parallel, we are committed to continuous research and innovation, currently exploring hemp-based alternatives as part of our broader vision to scale regenerative circular materials from Latin America. Getting this idea off the ground came with several barriers, and each required a different kind of innovation: technological, social, and financial. Let me walk you through a few of the most critical ones we face. We have no local labs specialized in biomaterials in Paraguay, so we have to build a network from the ground up. We collaborated with the National University of Asunción to co-develop our early-stage formulations. Through our trial and error, we created our material that could match performance needs while aligning with our sustainability values. To this day, we continue to face skepticism from both investors and designers. The idea of mango leather sounds far-fetched to some, so we focus on storytelling through functional stereotypes, and we co-created with sustainable designers products and showcase our products in innovations and in our country. To build emotional and functional trust around the concept. While this helps validate our concept, we continue to face a huge problem that is scalability. That's why we are facing this problem to escalate the production to a level where we can compete with other biomaterials and traditional materials available in the market. The next challenge was reliable, traceable sourcing of mango waste. We didn't want centralized industrial model, we wanted something rooted in community value. So we decentralized this and we created micro partnerships with informal waste workers and creating a supply system that also generates income at the base of the pyramid. This inclusive distributed model has proven effective and is now guiding our efforts to develop a hemp supply chain.
Thank you very much, Veronica. I think you gave us quite a number of quite nuanced but also very useful examples there of both the barriers that I think at an academic level we all know about, but coming from a co-founder of a circular business, I think it really brings it home what some of the more sort of specific challenges from laboratories to testing the products to actually bringing them to the market and competing with the conventional products. I think we will come back to in the second round and talk a bit more about how we can actually support businesses like you going forward. Next, I want to turn to Lucas. As we know, Brazil's ecological transformation plan positions circular economy as a key pillar for resource efficiency, waste reduction, but also innovation. Could you walk us through how this ambitious plan is planned to be scaled up and rolled out? Thank you.
Hello, Mute. Is working? Thank you for your question. Before I answer it, I would like to say that I was told that I could speak in Portuguese, but I was informed right now that I must speak in English, and I will lose some fluency in my answer in this, so I'm sorry in advance for all of you. I'd like to greet all my colleagues here. It's an honor to receive you all in our country, and I am very happy to be with you all today. We are thinking and planning this moment several months ago, and we reached this moment with our national plan of circular economy approved. We could launch it on last week, and we are very, very proud of it. And I consider myself a very optimistic person. I work in the government transition of Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva government and also the Vice President Geraldo Alckmin. And I helped to structure our 37 ministry before we start our government. And even with all my optimism, I never imagined that after 2 years and 5 months of government, we would be able to see what we are seeing in Brazil right now. Our industry grows more than 3%. It grows more than the average of the rest of the world. We are growing a lot in our industry. We reach 40 position in a list of 160 countries that more industrialized in the last year. And the incredible is that we industrialized ourselves at the same time that we reduce our gases emission. On last COP on Baku, we announced a reduction of 12% of our gases emission in Brazil. And all of these, because we reduced by half the deforestation in the Amazon. We reduced by a quarter the deforestation in our savanna, Cerrado. This shows us that it's possible to combine economic growth, industrialization, with sustainable development and respect with the environment. But there is another thing that we was able to do in these last 2 years and a half. We reduce our inequalities in a level that we never saw before. The inequality rate in Brazil is in the lowest level of our history because the employment rate is in the highest level. The health of the poorest people increased a lot. So we combine industrialization, respect to environment, and social inclusion in Brazil. And why I think it's so important, all of what we are doing right now? Because we are facing probably one of the greatest challenge of the humankind. We are tackling with astounding climate change. We are seeing a huge biodiversity loss and a huge pollution in the entire globe. It's entirely impossible to tackle with all this problem without consider the role of Brazil. I think Brazil is central. It's strategic to humankind to deal with the problem. Our great reserves of forests to climate regulation. We are the owner of 20% of the biodiversity in the world. And we have a huge contribution in the energy transition and the energy security with all the technology that we domain in the biofuels, in the biomaterials, in the bioeconomy. So Brazil extremely strategic in this process. And we launch, I come back to your answer, we launched on last week the National Plan of Circular Economy in Brazil. It is structured in 5 strategic axes. The first axis is it's referred to regulation and norms, all the decrees, all the laws, all the bills that we have to approve to accelerate the transition to a more circular economy. In this axis, all the measures that we are doing to create remanufacture market in Brazil, a reuse of production in Brazil, the refillization of packages in Brazil, we are all doing this in this axis. The second axis is innovation. We are putting all our technology agents to foster, to financiate the innovation in Brazil. We launch an edital, how do I say edital? I don't know, a call by FINEP to financiate innovation process that are already financiating the use of waste and transforming the waste in strategic material like graphene. We are doing this with the textile waste. The third axis is the measures that we are doing to reduce the waste in Brazil. We have a great problem, is the lixões. I don't know how do I say lixões. Belt sides, okay. The belt sides, we are how to close the belt sides in Brazil. We are working together with the Ministry of Environment to do this, and we are also launching important decrees that obligates the enterprise to recover more packages and also to increase the recycling index in their industrial process. We already did this with the glass material. We will launch a decree to the plastic material soon, and also we will launch the paper and other ones. The fourth axis of our national plan is related to the financial instrument to accelerate the process to a more circular economy. Our main public bank, the BNDES, launched recently with us a fund, a match fund that are putting money to financiate cooperatives of waste pickers and projects of recycling plants. And one of the most important measures in all of our national plan of circular economy, we have 17 strategic actions in our national plan. If I could choose only one of all the 70 actions that is in our plan, I would choose that one that I will say to you right now. We are working in a reform of our constitution in a way to take the bi-tributation problem that incides in the recycling products in our country. We will take off the taxes, and by this measure, we will promote much more competitivity to the recycling products, and with this, I think we will do a huge acceleration towards a more circular economy in our country. Finally, the fifth axis of our national economic plan, circular economic plan, related to the interfederative articulation. It's very important in a country huge as Brazil to work with states and municipalities level to improve our selective collective programs, to improve the quality of our cooperatives of waste pickers, in a way that we are very happy to be here in this important forum and work with all other countries to accelerate the transition to a more circular economy. I think that is very important in this contest, and I would like to thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you very. Sorry. Thank you very much. I believe you really brought your energy and your optimism, and in collaboration with our audience, I'm sure there will be quite a few questions after the second round, but I'll come back to you. Now I would like to turn to Ambrose, and we heard a little bit from the government's perspective, especially the financing initiatives from the local perspective. Now I want to turn to some of the themes that were also brought up in the morning's plenary session, and we already heard that multilateral development banks such as the EIB, IDB, IFC, we know that you have a very key role to play in supporting and financing circular solutions. Now I would like to ask you, in EIB's experience, what are some key approaches that are working well, that can be replicated and scaled up globally, and especially in the Latin America region? Thank you.
Thank you very much, and many thanks for the invitation. I would like to say three things. I'm not going to say a lot of things about what we do in Latin America in circular economy, because the only project we have, there is only one, which is in Argentina, that we do with IDB, in a very, very interesting project of waste management, which we learned this morning is one of the big issues on lack of circular economy projects in Latin America. But I can tell more about what we learn elsewhere and how we can try to say there are lessons learned. I was very interested by the poll that you asked at the beginning of this session. And I was very surprised that the biggest impediment or obstacle to circular economy projects is the lack of incentive for private sector. That I find very surprising. And this is not what you hear when you listen to panels or to people who are experts in this sector. This is, of course, something that exists, but not as the key impediment. And I think it's also something where we are, as public banks, EIB, like IDB, like IFC, we are public banks. We are not good enough, which is awareness about what multilateral development banks or public banks in general, you spoke about BNDES, that's the same, can do to help de-risk, guarantee, help those entrepreneurs in the private sector to develop projects in the circular economy. So to me, this is a warning call that we need to do a better job in awareness. The second thing is we have a very interesting initiative that we have launched with UNIDO, with the Chatham House, and with Frankfurt School. It is called Switch to C. So switch to circular economy. And actually what we have done is we have taken 3 countries with 3 supply chains. The 3 countries are Bangladesh, Morocco, and Egypt. And the 3 supply chains are in Bangladesh, textile. In Morocco, it is consumer it is plastic recycling. And in Egypt, it is consumer electronics. And you look at that, and then you make a broad perspective of what you need to know to develop circular economy. So what is the policy framework? What is the market? Where are the players in the sector? What is the financing? Which are the needs in capacity building, etc. And actually, this is something that we are now looking at more in depth. It is ongoing. I think it is very interesting to have this kind of broad knowledge about specific supply chains in specific countries. And that, I hope, will be able to look at how we can give lessons to other countries or the same or different supply chains, or what works in some countries that doesn't work in others, what works in some supply chain that is not the case for others, etc. It includes also awareness, the study. My last comment, since I arrived, I am struck by the fact that it seems to me that there is a big unevenness in how circular economy projects are advancing. And you see that there is a clear move towards circular economy in everything related to critical raw materials. And I think why, I ask myself why, and probably there are 2 reasons for that. Because it is very much linked to the economy of the future, and then it is linked to competitiveness. It is linked to the industry policy. It is linked to energy independence, things that in many parts of the world are considered, rightly so, extremely important. And that makes a priority. And this is where politics come in. It is a political priority. And you see that it is more difficult for other parts of the economy where circular economy is moving forward but slower. And so maybe this is this part of the economy that we need to push a bit as public institutions.
Thank you very much. And indeed, as the project manager of Switch to CE project, I could not agree more. And I think maybe linking back to some of Veronica's initial points where we work, for example, with textile sector in Bangladesh, we do realize that some of the challenges we discussed this morning, the price incentives, are completely upside down. So indeed, we're on one side building a lot of capacity. I think our joint work with the EIB has been very instrumental also for our organization to learn. At the same time, we're at times really struggling against some market forces that are hopefully something that policy, business sector, finance can collaboratively start tackling together for us to be able to take things to the next level. This now brings me to the next round of the questions I want to share with our panelists before I will open the floor. And here I want to dig a bit deeper, especially on the collaboration aspects, because I think that's where we heard it also this morning. Without collaboration, circular economy cannot function. This is actually trust and collaboration are probably for me the two key words that I've learned implementing projects around the globe that is still the secret ingredient for us to succeed. And I want to turn to Lucas again. And as we all know, and as established by many studies, including our partners' ICC report called Putting the Circular Economy into Motion, they all point to the need for updated regulatory frameworks, trade frameworks, international trade frameworks to support circularity. What do you see as key priorities for international cooperation in this area?
Well, I think that we live in a very difficult moment with great geopolitical problems that very recently that we are seeing the biggest economy of the planet getting off of all the environmental treaties, getting off the responsibility with the trade system. We are seeing the collapse of the multilateral organization. So it's all of this contest increase the responsibility of the remaining countries that still believes that's important to respect the environment, to include people, to foster the democracy in the world. So we, the people that still believe in all of these things, must unite, must strengthen spaces like this, must strengthen spaces to negotiate the treaties. And I think that's very important to keep the fighting for these things. We are seeing the biggest economy in the world position itself like something like a petro state that is increasing his competitivity about getting tirar proveito. Como é que eu falo tirar proveito? Taking advantage of the lowest price of his energy with this fossil energy. On the other side, we have China position itself as something like an electro state with high technology capacity to produce a lot of things with lowest price, digitalization, and I think Brazil can position itself something like in a bio state, that take advantage of all all of his climate advantage, all this agriculture advance, the capacity to produce biomaterial, biosubstitutes of the petrochemistry chains. This is very important. And I think the role of Europe, it's very important as a lawmaker of the trade agreements. It's an important voice in defense of the sustainability, and I think Europe can be a huge ally from Brazil and other countries that put sustainability as a key sector, as a driving force of the rules that must be elaborated to preserve, to respect the environment, and to respect the commerce and the trade. We are seeing a world that the multilateralism is collapsing, and I think that's absolutely fundamental that we fight for of these spaces.
Thank you very much indeed. We live in quite interesting times, and you brought home the point that if now, then when? We have to indeed join forces. I would like to next turn back to EIB and talk a bit about this connection between the local ecosystems and multilateral financial system. We know that financial intermediaries play a critical role in the local context, but oftentimes it seems that they lack the right guidance and support to support local circular transition. Where do you see most opportunities for greater collaboration with public and private actors to build these ecosystems?
Do I have 20 seconds to say that I appreciate very much what you said, but we are a multilateral development bank, very proud to be, very proud to be also considered in Europe the climate bank. I hope the multilateral system is not in the shape you are describing, and that we will be able to bring in a way that will make everybody move forward in the near future. What we are interested, because this is part of what we do. You know, we are a bank without a network, without deposits. So when we want to make impact on the ground, we have to finance what is the most impactful, which is small companies. And for that, we need local banks. And that's what we do. We finance local banks for the local banks to finance SMEs in the country where they operate. And talking about circular economy, this is where we see that we face one of the biggest difficulties, which is in those local financial institutions, there is a lack of capacity. And one of the things that we try to develop, and in particular in the context of this switch to a circular economy project, is how we can accompany the local financial institutions to, for example, to strengthen the risk function, the monitoring of the projects that have a circular impact, so that they are much more familiar with them, and then that they would include that in the list of projects that they could finance, and also that they could report to see and to, because I'm pretty convinced that the more you will see very interesting projects on the ground, the more you will see more of those projects elsewhere. And so if we can help through this capacity building, through this technical assistance, to build capacities inside institutions who want to do more on circular economy projects, I mean, we are very much willing to do so because we think it's part of our mandate.
Thank you very much. And indeed, also in our experience, it's sort of reinterpreting what bankable means in the circular economy context. And that's where I think a number of our initiatives are trying to build capacity on both ends to improve. Yes, please, if you want to respond. The other microphone.
Huge. I would like to complement my answer and answer to you as well. I think there is an important thing regarding the trade mechanism that's very important to be developed. And one important example is what the European guys is doing in CBAM mechanisms, you know, considering the carbon input, the carbon footprint in the products, and put a price in it. I think that is very important to the trade mechanism in the rest of the world. You know, and then I think Brazil has huge advantage in this process, because no other country can produce industrial products with less carbon inputs than Brazil. An electric vehicle produced in Brazil emits less than 42% of the same electric vehicle produced in Europe because of our electric matrix. One solar panel produced in Brazil produces less than 80% of the same solar panel produced in China. One plastic polymer produced in Brazil produces less than 50% of carbon of the same plastic polymer produced in Russia. So I think it's absolutely important to consider the carbon and the impacts in the environment in the final price, and that the trade system consider it I think that's a very important measure to foster the transition to a more sustainable model.
Thank you very much, and it's nice to see the different panelists kind of triggering each other's thoughts and ideas, but I want to go back to Veronica, and I want to finish the panel discussion for this point with Veronica, because I want to hear from you as a business owner, as a founder, as an innovator, what you would like to see more of. What are the areas where you would, and businesses like yours, would benefit most from collaboration, both locally and globally? If you can give your insights.
I see collaboration as a necessity. From Latin America and the Caribbean, we can lead regenerative material solutions if we invest in science and we collaborate with bigger actors. I think that it has to be a collaborative, systematic change, because a huge problem that we had with Mygotex at the beginning is that we didn't have databases or biofabrication hubs, anything like where we can collect information. We have to investigate a lot to achieve what we achieve, like the prototypes we have. But it doesn't matter that we have the best biomaterial available in the market. If the market continues to incentivize other materials, hazardous materials like polyester, we can compete in prices, and we can compete also in performance.
And I would like to add that you mentioned it in your earlier points, but it's also, for example, there's a major role to be played by standards bodies. In fact, your initiative was supported by another UNIDO project working on quality standards and basically supporting circularity from the perspective of quality institutions. So collaboration really goes beyond just government financial institutions and private sector, but we have a number of enabling organizations in this ecosystem, from local governments to standards bodies, to laboratories, that really all need to come on board and to be able to actually incentivize the private sector, but also provide the common playing ground, basically. So once again, your insights are really helpful for us to picture what the whole ecosystem looks like, because it really goes beyond. So now actually we have quite a bit of time, and I see some questions were already coming through the app. So I am going to attempt reading them out. Where possible, I had asked if the colleagues can indicate which speaker the question is addressed to. So let's see if when I start reading, I'll get to that point. I don't know who the question is for, but so it goes. What can be done to obtain lines of credit for circular economy projects that are affordable for small businesses, especially since interest rates are not beneficial for those who take out these loans? Government subsidies to lower interest rates are not, and I can't see the rest. I think it was actually cut out. Okay. I believe the question would probably first go to Ambroise and maybe to Lucas.
I feel it is for me, yes. Can you, yeah, okay. Okay. No, but it's a very fair question, because indeed it is something that many of our clients, or the clients of our clients, are often asking. I'm going to make, and I apologize for that, a general response, because I don't know the case. The advantage of multilateral development banks like EIB or like IDB is that their mandate is to support projects of that type. They are AAA rated, and that has a strong advantage. We borrow to lend on the markets, but because we are AAA, we borrow at very long maturities and at very cheap rates. And because we are public institutions, We are not here to maximize profits. And so we make our beneficiary clients benefit from that. Now, what we, in our case, and I think this is behind the question, the client is the bank. It's not the SME at the end of the lane. And we know that. And what we ask the bank is at least to transfer to the SME a significant part, and that can depend on, I'm not going to go into the details, but to transfer to the SME a significant part of the financial value added. So at the end of the day, yes, it is interesting, normally. It is interesting without any idea of subsidy, or it can also be combined with grants from other institutions, from trust funds, from foundations, from the European Union, in our case. But the basic idea is, because the financing SMEs, in this case, in circular economy projects, is something that is of a policy interest for the European Union, we are ready to transfer the financial advantage we have to the bank locally that is financing the SMEs, for the SMEs to benefit from these conditions.
I'm sorry. I want to invite Luis back to stage because I see there are some questions to ECLAC, which is very nice. Thank you. I simply want to ask if Lucas would like to add anything, or if Veronica would like to add anything on the previous question on interest rates and subsidies before I move to the next question.
Yes, I totally agree with the participant. That's necessary to reduce the interest rates of the loans direct to financiate the transition to a more circular economy. I totally agree with this. But we have limitation in the budget, we have limitation on the resources, and this is true also in the financial resource that we have in Brazil. We are tackling this targeting other areas, such the development, through the development of new financial instruments, something like the one that I mentioned in the BNDES, that a fund of matchmaking fund to financiate the cooperatives and recycling industries, plants in Brazil. We also launch an important measure that we are calling Lei Rouanet da Reciclagem, or something like the incentive law to recycling. We are giving discount in the wealth taxes declared by people and enterprises who invest in on recycling projects. You know, people and enterprise who invest in circular projects gets a discount on his wealth taxes that is must be paid once a year. 1 to 6% of discount. I think that's an interesting way to put money to foster the acceleration. And also we are doing another measures to increase the volume of financial volume to accelerate this process. But we are also working off all the nets of our public banks to increase the variety of and the attractivity of the loans direct to the circular economy.
Thank you. Please.
Something. Yes. Hello. I would like to add something. I think, like in particular for the fashion and textile industry, specifically funds that are dedicated to this industry could be a really good incentive.
Thank you very much. The next question is actually quite an interesting contrast to some of the other topics we picked up on the session, and I'm very happy Luis joined us back on stage. There is a question from Juliana Netto, and it's for ECLAC. would the jobs potentially created by circular economy require different skill sets from the existing ones? And if yes, who would be responsible for investing in capacity building? It's a very interesting question. Thank you for that.
It is indeed a very interesting question, and the right answer is I don't know. I have no idea. We we are just working over very basic, trying to overcome very basic barriers. The main, as I mentioned, we need some these frameworks, legal frameworks in place in order to allow new flows of investments from the private sector, from the banks. We need to allow and produce the conditions to incorporate the innovations that are coming from the academic sector. We need to discuss with the civil society new patterns of consumption and so on. So we are dealing with these very basic barriers and how to overcome, how to create strategies, to have strategies in the countries of our region, and really having this possibility to think about how could we train and promote the capacity building to assume new positions, and when we are going to materialize these impacts that we want to put in place. This is the next question, so I don't know, we really don't have any kind of answers right now. But I'd like to come back to the forum next year. Probably we will have developed something that could address this very, very important question, but right now we don't have the answer yet.
Maybe that's something we should put our heads together, because indeed from experience what I find is that the set of skills is so diverse. When we start implementing circular economy projects, all the way from factory floor, where it might be about basic skills on waste segregation or post-industrial waste segregation, all the way to circular design, which of course requires a complete different set of skills. I think there is such a wide variety, and that's, I think, what makes it both a big opportunity for create circular, green, decent jobs, but also something that's from policy space and people working on practical projects, maybe we should put our heads together on. I see that there is several more questions. We have only 4 minutes left, but I will take one more question. And this is for Lucas. How do you view the role of third-party verification of recycled products before providing tax reduction to ensure that the products are in fact post or pre-consumer recycled fibers with a true life cycle before the recycling phase? It's quite a long question, and I think it cut off. Please.
We are working in a program that is called the Green Seal, Selo Verde Brasil. We are establishing metrics to give a green certification in green products, and one of the areas is just the recycling content in some material. We are looking for textile, and we think that this sector have a huge potential to benefit from public procurements and tax incentives with the increasing of the recycling content in the fibers. The same rationale can be applied in other sectors as well. As we are advancing in this area, much probably we will need the third-party certification in the environmental certification process. We are already doing this in partnership with ABNT, is our major norm agency in Brazil in this. We are also working within Metro, and I think that we will advance in the standards and the regulations in this process in Brazil as well.
Absolutely, thank you. And I think it builds on many years of experience in the space, in the sustainability space, where, of course, these efforts have to go hand in hand. Basically, I would like to then wrap up taking the questions, and I would like to thank my colleagues, our panelists, for sharing their valuable insights and their time this afternoon. and for all of you for your engagement, also to support translation from Portuguese to English at times, but it was a very nice detail that the audience, unfortunately we don't have mobile phones, so we were not able to talk face to face, and this was a good opportunity. I believe today's session we took on quite a number of different topics that all relate to each other, and we had these very diverse perspectives, and I think we all agree that, yes, there are barriers, they are very real, we live in interesting times. At the same time, we have these dynamic actors, we have pioneering programs, and there's a lot we can learn from each other and scale up and reproduce in all regions, and especially in Latin America. So I believe some of the lessons here today will be quite critical for all of us, the partners designing this session, to continue the discussion and hopefully develop new ideas together. Finally, to only highlight a couple of accelerator sessions, in case this discussion tickled your curiosity, I want to highlight, there are so many to choose from, and I'm sure you're using the WCEF app to see where to go, but maybe you want to check a couple of sessions in the 15th on Thursday and Friday. For example, there is a business exchange for new circular markets on May 15th in the Pullman Villa at 9 a.m. There is ECLAC's accelerator session measuring progress and promoting circularity through public policies, also on the 15th in Pullman, Sao Paulo. There is harmonizing finance guidelines to unlock circular economy investment, again related to our topic, I believe led by IFC, in the afternoon on 15th in Pullman as well. And finally, I will promote a UNIDO session. It's called Economic Drivers for Circularity, Secondary Materials and Beyond, on Friday at noon at Intercontinental. So with that, I would like to wish all of you a wonderful rest of WCF, and thank you very much for your attendance. Nice afternoon.